We are working on 8.2, Cartesian coordinate system. We're going to be working on problem 1 in the next class. You need to have a graphing calculator to do a linear regression. We have our properties of the absolute value. The absolute value of A is greater than or equal to 0. Distance cannot be negative. The absolute value of the opposite of A equals the absolute value of A. We know that the absolute value of A times B is the same thing as the absolute value of A times the absolute value of B. This would also be true for division. The absolute value of A divided by B is exactly the same thing as the absolute value of A divided by the absolute value of B. And B cannot be 0. That would be an undefined number. Looking at example 2, we know the absolute value of A equals A if A is greater than 0. The absolute value of A equals the opposite of A if A is less than 0. And the absolute value of A equals 0 if A is equal to 0. If I look at example A, the absolute value of -4, which one of these cases does it fall into? The opposite of A if A is less than 0. We have that -4 is less than 0. That means that the absolute value of -4 is equal to the opposite of -4, which equals 4. Because A was less than 0, we say that the absolute value of -4 is equal to the opposite of -4. Problem B. What is the absolute value of pi minus 6? Is A going to be greater than 0? Is A going to be less than 0? Or is A going to be equal to 0? Pi minus 6 is equal to -2.86. We are in the situation of pi minus 6 equals -2.86. We are in the opposite of A if A is less than 0. Absolute value of pi minus 6 equals the opposite of pi minus 6, which equals the opposite of -2.86. Final answer would be a +2 and 86/100. The distance formula. The distance between A and B is the absolute value of A minus B. We will note that the absolute value of A minus B equals the absolute value of B minus A. Finding the distance between 2 points. Distance equals 1 minus 6 squared plus 5 minus 2 squared, -5 squared plus 3 squared, square root of all of that, 25 plus 9. The distance equals the square root of 34. Midpoint formula. Using the midpoint formula, we are using the endpoints, and we are looking for the average of those endpoints. We're going to add up our x's and divide by 2. Add up our y's and divide by 2. Midpoint equals -5 plus 3 divided by 2. 2 plus 7 divided by 2 is a coordinate. Now it looks like a coordinate. -2 divided by 2, 9 divided by 2. Our final answer for the midpoint of this line is going to be -1, 9/2. All right. The next example would be finding the equation of a circle. If I am given a circle that is not at the origin, its center is in quadrant 2. I have the center of the circle, I have a point that is on the circle, and I have the radius. What would be the equation of a circle if I was given these three elements: the center, the radius, and a point on the circle? What is the equation of this circle? I could use the distance formula to find the distance between 2 points. Subtract your x's, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. I would replace distance, finding the distance of this line with the radius. And finally, I would like to undo the square root. If I square both sides, I have r squared equals x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. This is an equation of a circle that has the center at hk. The equation of a circle that is at the center, at the origin, would be r squared equals x squared plus y squared. Center of this circle, I can see there's no shift on x. Here, I am being shifted h units away from x. And the same would be true of y. I'm shifting k units away from y. There is no shift on the y. It is centered at 0, 0. And those are the two equations that we use for circles. At the center, shifted away from the center. Example 6, find the standard equation of circles. We have a center of -4, 1 with a radius of 8. The radius is 8 for r. That would be 8 squared. X minus, what is the number they gave us? What is h? That would be -4. Watch out for those double negatives. Squared plus y minus, what is k? 1 squared. And then you would simplify, leaving no double negatives. I can square this. We get 64 equals x plus 4 squared plus y minus 1 squared. Equation of a circle. Problem B, I'm centered at 0, 0 with a radius of 5. X squared plus y squared equals r squared. I am not shifting away on my x or my y. X squared plus y squared equals 5 squared. Final answer, x squared plus y squared equals 25. Example 8, use the Pythagorean theorem and the distance formula to show that these points determine a right triangle. We're going to find the distance of line A. Starting with that, we get the distance equals -3 minus 1 squared plus 4 minus 0 squared. -4 squared 4 squared you get the distance equals the square root of 32. I'm going line B. I'm going from top down. Five minus 1 squared and 4 minus 0 squared. We get, again, distance equals 4 squared plus 4 squared. So we have 16 plus 16 is 32. And line C. Negative 3 minus 5. 4 minus 4. Negative 8 squared plus 4 minus 4 is 0. 0 squared is 0. Distance equals the square root of 64. A is the square root of 32 squared plus B squared, which was the square root of 32, equals C squared, which is the square root of 64. A square root and a square are inverse operations. That would be 32. We get that 64 equals 64. Check. Therefore, triangle ABC is a right triangle.